I'm Sabrina Zainal, and this is Nightline, the top stories. Trying to contain China will only fuel its grievances, says PM. And Malaysia's real GDP growth to improve to 4.5% in 2024. Good morning. We begin with this story. Attempts to contain China's rise would only aggravate the country and sow discord in the region. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said countries needed to put themselves in China's shoes and recognize how its leaders saw its military buildup and growing diplomatic influence as a natural result of its economic and technological prowess.
For the leaders of China, it is only natural for them to be more forthright in assessing their interests. A growing economy naturally leads to greater diplomatic influence and a more formidable military. In their eyes, the adverse reactions to China's rise, militarily, economically, and technologically, represent nothing less than an attempt to deny their legitimate place in history.
He also stressed that Kuala Lumpur and Canberra can play a huge role by working together to abate rivalry and hostility among major world powers. He said this when delivering a public lecture titled Navigating Geopolitical Currents, Malaysia and Australia's Pivotal Role in Asia Pacific, attended by more than 500 people at the Australian National University, ANU, in Canberra on Thursday. Anwar added he does not accept the fatalistic view of the world and that major power rivalry has become a structural feature of regional affairs and nothing can be done to moderate it. He also called on all sides to adapt to change peacefully without denying any nation of their rightful place in the global economy. Meanwhile, China appreciates the Prime Minister's stance on Chinaphobia among the U.S. and its allies. Minister in the Chinese embassy in Malaysia, Zheng Shufang, said Anwar's remarks reflected the wish of developing countries in pursuing independence and development. He added that Malaysia is a friendly neighbor to China and of the priority is China's neighborhood diplomacy, adding that it will continue to work with Malaysia to elevate bilateral relations to a new level. On a separate development, Zheng said China will work closely to support Malaysia in playing a greater role in ASEAN and international affairs and push ASEAN-China relations as well as the East Asia cooperation to new heights. The diplomat said China also supports the idea of the Asian Monetary Fund as well as the initiative of ASEAN-China Gulf Cooperation Council or GCC Trilateral Summit proposed by Anwar. This year marks the 50th anniversary of Malaysia-China bilateral diplomatic relations and Malaysia-China Friendship Year. Anwar sees his maiden official visit to Australia as Prime Minister as a significant milestone in strengthening relations between the country and Malaysia, not only paving the way for stronger bilateral ties, but also fostering shared prosperity between both nations as well as the wider ASEAN region. Hafiz Adnan reports from Canberra.
Speaking to the Malaysian media on Thursday, Anwar said his visit has been highly successful in enhancing investment opportunities for Malaysia while simultaneously facilitating significant advancements across multiple sectors, including political, economic, educational, sports and cultural domains. This was achieved when he led the Malaysian delegation to the second Malaysia-Australia Annual Leaders Meeting, ALM, and 2024 ASEAN-Australia Special Summit held in Melbourne earlier this week. Moreover, the visit not only cemented diplomatic ties between Malaysia and Australia, but also laid the groundwork for collaborative endeavours that promise a more prosperous and progressive future for both countries and the region.
Ini menunjukkan bahawa ada sedikit anjakan dari dasar luar Australia lebih akrab dan mantap bersama ASEAN. Walaupun ada sebelum ini, tapi nampak sikap pemerintahan atau kerajaan Australia sekarang di bawah Anthony Albanese jelas mahu peningkatan melalui pelaburan, melalui kerjasama peningkatan perdagangan, olahraga, pertemuan dan pertukaran belia, bukan saja dengan Malaysia tapi dalam konteks ASEAN.
Anwar also underscored a major achievement of the visit, a significant increase in potential investments for Malaysia, amounting to 24.5 billion ringgit from major Australian companies looking to expand their operations in the country. Last year, Malaysia and Australia's bilateral trade stood at over 84.6 billion ringgit, solidifying Australia as Malaysia's 10th largest trading partner. While in Canberra, Dato Sri Anwar also paid a courtesy call on the Governor-General of Australia, David Hurley, at the Government House in the nation's capital before returning to Malaysia. As the chair of ASEAN in 2025, Malaysia is committed to reinforcing the unity and cooperation within the regional bloc, as well as fostering stronger ties with its external partners. This effort not only serves to strengthen ASEAN's resilience, but also presents valuable opportunities for Malaysia in terms of cultivating new industries, attracting fresh investments and boosting tourism. Hafiz Zainal, Canberra for Nightline.
Kongres Ekonomi Bumiputra pemangkin ke arah transformasi pembangunan ekonomi. Anjakan pemerkasaan Bumiputra lebih adil, saksama dan inklusif. Kupasannya dalam soal rakyat bersama Timbalan Perdana Menteri Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi. Sabtu 9 Mac 5.30 petang hanya di TV3. Juga stream ditonton.
Credit ratings agency Moodys Ratings projected Malaysia's real gross domestic product GDP growth to improve to 4.5% this year from 3.7% in 2023. It said this is reflected in the resilient domestic demand in the face of a challenging global environment and risks to the agricultural sector, as well as inflation posed by El Niño.
In its Banking System Outlook report released on Thursday, the agency said favorable labor market conditions will support household consumption, and government policies such as the National Energy Transition Roadmap and New Industrial Master Plan 2030 will underpin private and public investments, along with investment flows related to shifting regional supply chains. Moodys said weaker global growth will limit the contribution of net exports to GDP, even as it expects a cyclical recovery in electronics and semiconductors. At the same time, it said the property market has remained weak, with the number of unsold housing units declining gradually, but still staying elevated, while persistent oversupply issues continue to depress rental rates and occupancy of office and retail space.
Meanwhile, Bank Negara Malaysia has maintained the overnight policy rate OPR at 3% at its Monetary Policy Committee MPC meeting on Thursday. It opines that the current OPR level remains supportive of the economy, consistent with the current assessment of the inflation and growth prospects of the country. Now, the central bank also stressed that the country's growth is expected to improve this year, driven by the recovery in exports and resilient domestic expenditure. It added headline and core inflation stood at in January is also trending in line with expectations. For a firmer ringgit, the government and Bank Negara are taking coordinated actions in order to encourage repatriation and conversion of foreign investment income by GLCs and government-linked investment companies, GLICs. Over the medium term, ongoing structural reforms will provide more enduring support to the local currency. Joining us now to talk more on the MPC's decision on OPR are Putra Business School's Economic Analyst, Associate Professor Ahmad Razman Abdul Latif, and UCSI University's Assistant Professor of Finance, Liu Chi Yong. Professor Razman, how will the decision to maintain the OPR affect the country's inflation outlook for 2024?
In my opinion, the decision to maintain the OPR will ensure that the country's inflation will remain at a manageable rate, not too high to cause economy to overheat, and not too low to cause the economy to suffer from stagnation. But of course, we need to understand that the current inflation rate is also partly influenced by the federal government initiative especially through subsidy and price control mechanism, which normally will affect the essential products and services.
To Professor Liu, do you think the move to maintain the OPR rates will bring a negative impact to the ringgit? And what are other strategies that BNM can use to help strengthen our ringgit?
The decision by Bank Negara to keep the overnight policy rate to be the same is not going to affect negatively the Malaysian ringgit, because the inflation rate in the country remains stable and the same, which is 1.5% since last year. Also, the federal fund rate in the US remained the same at an effective rate of 5.33% since January this year. And therefore, the interest rate gap between the United States and Malaysia remained the same since January this year. So therefore, the decision by Bank Negara to keep the overnight policy rate the same will not affect negatively the Malaysian ringgit in terms of its strength. In order to strengthen the ringgit, Bank Negara can consider other kinds of strategies, such as intervening in the foreign exchange market, for example, by buying more ringgit and selling off more of its foreign exchange reserve, so that this can actually increase the value of the ringgit in the exchange rate. On the other hand, Bank Negara can also improve the stability of the financial institutions and financial markets in this country, which, let's say, if they are stable, this can actually attract more foreign investment into the country and strengthen the Malaysian ringgit.
Thank you, Professor Razman and Liu Chi-yong. Now, moving on, the federal government managed to curb its debt growth in 2023, with the increase in debt slowing to 8.6% from 10.2% in 2022. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim announced that the total federal government debt for 2023 stood at 1.172 trillion ringgit, accounting for 64.3% of the gross domestic product, GDP, compared to 1.079 trillion ringgit, or 60.3% of the GDP in 2022. In his written response in the Dewan Rakyat on Thursday, Anwar attributed the decrease in debt growth to successful fiscal consolidation measures that reduced the fiscal deficit to 91.4 billion ringgit last year, down from 99.5 billion ringgit in 2022. The federal government's debt composition last year consisted of domestic debt amounting to 1.142 trillion, or 97.5%, and offshore loans amounting to 29.8 billion ringgit, or 2.5% of the total debt. Anwar also stated that loans issued by the federal government in 2023 totaled 226.6 billion ringgit, a 2% decrease from 2022's 230.9 billion ringgit. Despite the debt reduction, the Prime Minister affirmed the government's commitment to further lowering debt levels as targeted under the Public Finance and Fiscal Responsibility Act 2023, aiming for an overall debt level below 60% of GDP in the medium term. The long-awaited bill on political financing is still being studied and researched. Deputy Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Law and Institutional Reform, M. Kulasegaran, said the bill is being studied and was being handled by the Human Rights, Elections and Institutional Reforms Special Select Committee of the Dewan Rakyat, or JPKP.
JPKP antara lain untuk mengambil kira pandangan daripada semua parti-parti politik yang berdaftar di Malaysia. Susulan rujukan perkara dasar mengenai draft rang undang-undang pendanaan politik oleh kerajaan Madani kepada JPKP, satu mesyuarat telah diadakan pada 29 hari bulan Februari 2024.
Pula Sigaran said this during the oral question time in the Dewan Rakyat on Thursday. He said during the meeting on February 29th, several issues were raised. Among them are the donation scopes for individuals and companies, public funding for political parties, and the formula. He added while the proposed political financing bill is still in the works, political funding matters will be governed by existing laws.
The Attorney General's Chambers, AGC, has filed an appeal against the Court of Appeal's decision to acquit former Felda Chairman Tan Sri Muhammad Isa Samad. Attorney General Datuk Ahmad Teriruddin Muhammad Saleh, when contacted, said the notice of appeal was filed on Thursday.
The final appeal will be heard at the federal court. On Wednesday, a 3-judge panel of the appellate court discharged and acquitted Isa of 9 corruption charges involving 3.09 million ringgit linked to Felda's acquisition of Merdeka Palace Hotel and Suites in Kuching, Sarawak. The former Negeri Sembilan Menteri Besar was first found guilty by the High Court on February 3, 2021. He was sentenced by the then High Court Judge, Justice Datuk Muhammad Nazlan Muhammad Ghazali, to 6 years imprisonment and a fine of 15.45 million ringgit, in default 18 years prison for all the 9 counts.
The 45th International Advertising Association IAA World Congress, which lasted for 3 days starting Wednesday in Bayan Lepas, Pulau Pinang, is expected to contribute an estimated 58 million ringgit to the state's economy. With the theme Brand Recode, Better World, Better Life, the Congress marks the first time such an event is hosted in the Southeast Asian region.
Successfully attracting participation from over 1,000 delegates from 30 countries, the Congress brings together professionals from various fields, including advertising, marketing, technology, and research firms from various industries. Pulau Pinang Chief Minister Chow Kon Yeow, who officiated the Congress on Wednesday, stated that the international-level Congress will create new investment opportunities and contribute to the stronger economic growth in the state.
We also took the opportunity to showcase what Penang has, and we hope that it will provide the delegates with an insight of what Penang can offer, and it will be a catalyst for future opportunity for Penang in the various sectors.
And it's about recoding for betterment. So brands and businesses have a responsibility to recode what they do to create a better world. So in a way, you could say that in the pursuit of profit, brands and businesses must also profit the planet and humanity.
Media Prima Berhad MPB was appointed as the local media partner for the Congress. Media Prima Television Network and Primework Studio CEO Nini Yusuf and the CEO of Media Prima Audio, Nazri Noran, are also expected to attend the Congress.
Still to come, luxury watches worth nearly $13 million go missing.
Alah, dah habis, tak sempat nak tengok.
Drama TV3 Mak? Tengok je lah, tonton.
Telefon nak buat?
Telefon Mak. Mula-mula Mak buka tonton, lepas tu tekan sign up here untuk buat akaun baru. Isi nombor telefon, email dengan password. Masukkan nombor TAC dan siap.
Ya, senang je. Jadi tengok dasar?
Boleh lah. Jadi dah drama Mak tu.
Influencer marketing, social commerce, how is the advertising industry evolving amidst emerging trends for sustained relevance? And in the era of digitalization, what strategies are advertisers employing to stay competitive? Money Matters from the Advertising World Congress with Sasan Saidi of the International Advertising Association this Saturday at 5 p.m. on TV3 and stream on Tonton.
Welcome back. Hamas on Thursday said its delegation has left Cairo and that talks on a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release will resume next week as Israel thwarted all attempts by mediators to reach an agreement. Now, in a statement, it said Israel had been thwarting efforts to conclude a ceasefire deal mediated by Qatar and Egypt during 4 days of talks hosted by Cairo. According to a senior Hamas official, Sami Abu Zuri, Israel was rejecting Hamas's demands to end its offensive in the enclave, withdraw its forces, and ensure freedom of entry for aid and the return of displaced people. In the meantime, health officials in Gaza said the number of people confirmed killed in Israel's offensive had now passed 30,800. It reported 83 deaths in the past 24 hours, with Israeli bombardments continuing in Khan Yunis, the southern city of Rafah, and areas in central Gaza.
Meanwhile, China on Thursday said Beijing advocates for Palestine's full membership in the United Nations, calling on several UN Security Council members not to impede the process. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi said the nation firmly supports the Palestinian people's just cause of regaining their legitimate rights and is always committed to a comprehensive, just and lasting solution to the question of Palestine at an early date. Wang has also called Israel's war in Gaza a disgrace for civilization, saying no reason can justify the continuation of the conflict and no excuse can justify being desperately killed. Therefore, he said the international community must act urgently, making an immediate ceasefire and the cessation of hostilities an overriding priority, and ensuring humanitarian relief an urgent moral responsibility.
Police in Japan have launched an investigation into a luxury watch rental operator based in Osaka after around 900 luxury watches worth almost $13 million are missing. Luxury brand watch owners using the rental operator Tokimatch said their watches worth hundreds of thousands of US dollars have not been returned after the operator announced on its website that it was shutting down its service at the end of January, adding that unreturned items were being sold at a flea market app. Police began looking into the case after receiving more than 40 complaints from around 190 watch owners in 13 regions, including Tokyo and Osaka. It was reported that police have obtained an arrest warrant for Tokimatch's owner, Takazumi Kominato, on suspicion of embezzlement of a Rolex watch. However, Kominato flew out of Japan in late February for Dubai, and police plan to put him on the international wanted list. China will submit a draft resolution to the United Nations calling for stronger international cooperation on artificial intelligence, AI. Now, its foreign minister Wang Yi on Thursday said Beijing would introduce a draft resolution on strengthening international cooperation in AI capacity building to the UN General Assembly. According to Wang, the move would push all parties to strengthen the sharing of technology and strive to bridge the intelligence gap so that no country will be left behind. He added China attaches equal importance to the development of AI and to security. Thus, AI should always be under the control of human beings. mixed doubles pair Tang Ji-Wei shown the exit. Sports after this breather.
Masyarakat Malaysia rata-ratanya gemar makan makanan pedas dan manis-manisan.
So janganlah macam, okey saya tak nak makan manis, saya tak nak makan manis. So tak ambil langsung. At one point, kita dah fed up, kita akan makan je lah.
Adakah anda penggemar makanan bergoreng ataupun minum kopi secara berlebihan?
Okey, besok kita review pukul berapa? Kita orang akan puasa sampai kita orang makan untuk review tu je.
Terlebih makan, perbincangannya dalam Hello Doktor, Ahad 5.30 petang di TV3 dan juga stream di Tonton.
Jom sambut Ramadan ini melalui rancangan-rancangan penuh ilmu dan hikmah istimewa di TV3.
Dengan penuh iman dan wahtisaban, penuh keimanan bersungguh-sungguh, ikhlas, ghufir.
Di luar Ramadan, Allah turun ke langit dunia pada setiap malam, iaitu sepertiga malam.
Mungkin satu ketika akan memberikan padah pada kita kalau kita tidak mengawal.
Saksikan di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Sports now, badminton, the 2024 French Open. National mixed doubles pair Chen Tangji To-Yi-Wei endured an early exit after losing their second match to China's Feng Yan Zhe Huang Dongping on Thursday. The world number 9 pair lost 18-21, 14-21 in straight games during a match that lasted 47 minutes. Thursday's defeat was the second for Tang Ji-Wei against Feng Huang after the World Tour Finals last year, where they lost in straight games. On to tennis now, the 2024 Indian Wells Open. Andy Murray defeated David Goffin for an 8th time in as many career meetings to book his place in the second round.
The Briton, a runner-up to Rafael Nadal in Indian Wells 15 years ago, was sharp from the start and delivered a serving masterclass to win against fellow veteran Goffin 6-3, 6-2 in the first round. Next up for world number 61 Murray is a meeting with 5th seed Andrei Rublev. Earlier, Australia's Thanasi Kokkinakis put up a powerful performance to win against American Marcos Giron in straight sets 6-3, 7-5 in the first round. He will next face number 3 seed Yannick Sinner. In another first-round match, Brandon Nakashima never faced a breakpoint as he beat fellow American Christopher Eubanks 6-3, 7-6. Nakashima, ranked number 93, will face number 32 seed Yuri Lehechka next.
After this short break, man arrested for allegedly insulting Raja of Perlis. Stay with us.
Jom sambut Ramadan ini melalui rancangan-rancangan penuh ilmu dan hikmah istimewa di TV3. Fir'aun ini ditemui pada tahun 1881, tetapi balutan mayatnya dibuka setelah 5 tahun kemudian.
Saksikan di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Kongres Ekonomi Bumiputra pemangkin ke arah transformasi pembangunan ekonomi. Anjakan pemerkasaan Bumiputra lebih adil, saksama dan inklusif. Kupasannya dalam Soal Rakyat bersama Timbalan Perdana Menteri Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi. Sabtu 9 Mac 5.30 petang hanya di TV3. Juga stream di Tonton.
Thanks for staying with us. In Perlis, a crab seller has been arrested in connection with an offensive post against the Raja of Perlis on the Facebook page of one Muhammad Muhammad. Kangar District Police Chief ACP Yusharifuddin Muhammad Yusof said the 41-year-old trader was arrested in Changlun, Kedah at 1:30 a.m. on Thursday following a police report lodged by a 37-year-old man on Wednesday.
Kangar Magistrate Anna Rozana Muhammad Noor on Thursday issued a 3-day remand order against the crab seller. Yusharifuddin said the case will be investigated under Section 4, Subsection 1 of the Sedition Act 1948 and Section 233 of the Communications and Multimedia Act 1998. Police have also received a report on the incident where banners with the Raja Muda of Perlis's photograph were splashed with red paint last Tuesday. The case will be investigated under Section 427 of the Penal Code, and police will determine whether the crab seller is linked to the incident.
The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, will take appropriate action against Datuk Wan Saiful Wan Jan if the Tasik Gelugor MP fails to lodge a report that he was offered 1.7 million ringgit to throw his support behind Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim. Its Chief Commissioner, Tan Sri Azam Baki, said that the Bersatu leader have until Sunday to make the report, or he will be summoned to the MACC headquarters on Monday for further action.
Sekiranya sampai Ahad ni, sampai 12 tengah malam, tidak ada juga laporan dibuat, keesokan dari sini tindakan akan dibuat.
Azam said this to TV3 in Putrajaya on Thursday. He said it was Wan Saiful's responsibility to report the matter as provided under Section 25, Bracket 1 of the MACC Act 2009, as he was the one who had made the claim in Parliament. On February 28th, Wan Saiful claimed he had been repeatedly induced to pledge support for the Prime Minister. He alleged that if he supported Anwar, he would be offered 1.7 million ringgit in parliamentary allocations and charges against him would be dropped. As Nightline draws to a close this time around, let's take a look at a Jordanian caricaturist and artist who shifted the focus of his artwork after events unfolded in Gaza. From drawings about normal life, his social media accounts are now full of artwork depicting the struggles faced by people in Gaza amid the ongoing war. With that, I'm Sabrina Zainal. Thank you for tuning in and stay safe.